Oh, hello. So this little video I promised you today is to do with your beautiful shoulders. And who doesn't love to have beautiful shoulders? So, but are your shoulders beautiful, or are they giving you a bit of grief? So the lats and the pecs, oh my goodness, this is the one that we see a lot of with NKT, is tightening here and weakening here, which makes sense when you really think about it. So if you've got if you had a elastic band, the end of the elastic band started here, went over your shoulder and it came down here and around and came back around here, and it was tight here, it would be stretched on your back, wouldn't it? You'd have a stretching. So if I use that, you'd notice that if I was, I'm not sure that's going to pull around like that, but it would be stretched around the back here, but tighter at the front. So it would make sense that this is the bit you've got to release, and the stretchy bit would be a little bit weaker. So that's the bit that you've got to strengthen, but they have a relationship. They're kind of like a push me pull you relationship. So the lats kind of pull, you're using your lats to pull down and to rotate in with the arms. So the lats do a lot of shoulder stabilization. And more often than not, they're not very strong. So let's try and get them working. It doesn't mean to say you've got to go and lift a load of weights to get them working. But what you're going to do here, so I was doing this yesterday, so my muscle feels quite sore today, is finding there's the pec minor has 3 stripes of muscle across here, from your shoulder here, down across your ribs. And you might find that one side feels more tender than the other. So if you notice if you've got one shoulder that tends to be more rounded forward or rounded in than the other, then more than likely your pec minor on that side is a bit sore. Oh, there it is. And if you dig around, but slowly and gently, and don't hold your breath, and relax your jaw, so you're not going, you'll find the spot that feels like you're pressing on a really sore bruise. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and you're just going to gently press it, and you can do a gentle circular movement if you want to, or you can just press and hold. And if it feels like you want to stretch it, then bring your arm out and then bring it back and bring it out and bring it back. But if that feels uncomfortable, then stay with this. And then the next thing we want to do is work on that amazing lat to get the lat working. Okay, and you start to feel the ouchiness dissipate, it reduces, it starts to lessen. And there's no magic time to do this for. So it could be 30 seconds, could be a minute, could be 2 minutes. I tend not to do it for more than 2 minutes. It just depends on how much time I've got, excuse me, with a client. If we find this complaint, and it might be that I could have about 4 or 5 times of working through correction to really let it go, and then have to correct it, carry on correcting it at home, because it's not about just unwinding this and getting this to work and then it's all of a sudden, whoa, it's going to stay like that. It's the pattern. So you've got to rewire the pattern up here into the brain, so the brain gets used to not using this and using this. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is pretend I'm holding onto a band, like one of those resistant bands, and I'm pulling that resistant band down and then letting it go. So as I pull that resistance band down, my elbow comes towards, in the direction of my ribs. I'm not trying to get it down there, because people tend to do this, like, oh, I've got to move it. So keep your spine long, and it's this pulling, feeling that you're pulling and coming back up. And if you put your hand here, underneath, not on your shoulder blade, but around about here, on the back of the ribs, you might feel, where your fingertips are resting, a contraction. Might feel a contraction. Oh, there it is. Then you come down. And feel that you're squeezing the back of the armpit. So if you feel like you're squeezing the back of the armpit when you come down, you'll feel your lat kicking in. Okay, and then come back and do this again. So I'm going to do it a couple of times with you. La 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 la. So the thing about NKT and finding these patterns is it's the pattern of movement, how your brain organises your movement. And I quite like that description when someone said that once, how are you organising your movement? Like how we all like go and pick up a mug for a cup of tea, and we go and turn on the tap for put water in the kettle. But how are you organising that movement? Something as simple as picking up a cup or holding up a kettle to put water in it. You're using a lot of shoulder muscles to do that. And a lot of people complain that their elbow hurts when they lift the kettle, or their arm hurts when they hold it out and it's full of water from the tap, or their arm hurts when they pick up a mug of tea. So this is quite a nice way to find that release from elbow pain. If you've got something like elbow out here, if it hurts on the side here, and the elbow is right in the middle, so it kind of gets the brunt of it all. It tries to stabilize the weight of the arm because the shoulder isn't doing it. So then come back. So you let go. You don't keep your hand there. Otherwise your brain will get confused about what's it trying to do. You're trying to use this or this. So then pull down and then let it go. So as you pull down, squeeze the back of your armpit and then release it. Relax your jaw. Or just notice if you're compensating anywhere for your lat. If your jaw's clenching, if you're holding your breath, if you're moving over onto one side, if your other shoulder's lifting up, if your hips hiking up on the other side. There's lots of little compensation patterns going on. So I would do somewhere between 2 to 5, maybe 8 repetitions. But as soon as you start to feel fatigued from this, or that your arm starts to roll in, so it's quite a good idea to do it in front of a mirror. You start to feel this little bit of rolling in, then your lat has said, I've had enough, I'm tired now. So you're going, and it will go, when it's not working as well, it goes to it's like if you go to a friend, or if you're at work and a colleague is helping you out because you've had a rough night, you've been up all night, the dog's been sick, or the cat's not well, or you've got kids and they've been up all night being sick or something, and you've had to go to work, and your colleague has seen that you're exhausted, and they said, right, okay, I'm going to help you out today because you're just not up to doing 100%. Maybe you're only going to do like 50%. And this is the same. Your lat has turned up for work, but it's only feeling like it's going to do 50% today. So it's called on for help for every time, because you still need to move your arm. So your lat's gone, oh, really? You still got to move your arm? Oh, blimey. So what can I do? So it goes to other muscles for help. So it's calling on your pec here to roll your arm forward so it can stabilize it, can lock it on so you can still move your arm. But you probably have limited range when you lift your arm, because if you roll it forward, you can't really move it as well. But if you drop your shoulder back, then you get that full range of movement, because your muscles behind your shoulder are helping. It's not just your lat, there's other muscles as well that do it, but that's helping you stabilize everything. Okay, enough talk, otherwise I'll bore you to tears about the mechanics of the shoulder. So release your pec minor, little muscle there, and it could be, I'm doing this one because it's sore on me. It could be this one, okay? And I use my left arm a lot to hold my phone when I'm doing editing and taking photographs and stuff like that. But that's why my left side's a bit tighter, but also my left side's tighter because I damaged my finger when I was little. My mum will tell you all about that. If I haven't told you already. So I had stitches all the way along. I was only about 5 or 6, and I had a tight left shoulder which moved my collarbone up, and it only got fixed when I was doing level 2 in NKT. So that was when I was in my early 50s. So it's been stuck for 50 odd years. So it's a long time for your left shoulder to be stuck, yes, and for someone to actually go, oh, look, why is your left collarbone higher than your right collarbone? And it was one of the NKT instructors that noticed it and realised, and he said, what's going on with your shoulder? What's going on with your collarbone? Have you got any injuries? Have you fallen, or have you broken your shoulder or your collarbone? I said, no, nothing like that. Nothing. I haven't got a handbag. I'm not into having handbags or anything like that. And he said, anything else that you can think of? And I was like, oh, no, I hurt my little finger when I was little. Well, that's miles away from my shoulder. And he went, oh, it's your little finger. And he started working on my scar, because my little finger was all floppy and didn't have a lot of muscle tone, and I just got used to it. It's like, my little finger's never going to be the same again. And he started working on my little finger, and the muscle tone there changed, and my brain went, oh, you've got a little finger. You can use it. Your other fingers can let go, and you can have more stability in your wrist, which means your shoulder doesn't have to do this to try and let you get your hand to move. So as soon as he started working on that, my left shoulder went, oh, thanks. So every now and again, I have to do certain things to keep my brain remembering what's happened here, to let that go. because we always fall into habits, don't we? So if you've ever been on a diet and you've done your best and you've lost your weight and everything else, every now and again you'll go back into the habit of eating a chocolate biscuit or eating a chocolate cake, and you'll think, oh, that was lovely, but I don't want to go back to where I was. So you have to remind yourself, it's daily work. Don't think you've ever got there, because there's always something else that will come back to remind you about certain things. And that's where the beauty lies, not in the destination. Bear will always tell you, it's not about getting to the summit. It's about the journey. And it is. It sounds cheesy, but it is about what you learn along the way. You have good days, and then you have bad days. And then you have a good day, and then you have a bad day. And you learn a lot in your good days, and you learn even more in your bad days. So enjoy the ups and enjoy the downs. So enjoy the breaks in your little finger and the release in your shoulder. So if you have got any issues like that in your hands, if this doesn't work for you, and if you've got any scars or breaks in your fingers, in your thumbs or anything, let me know, and we could do something like that, and that might help release your shoulder instead. Okay, so that's just one shoulder release. Happy practicing, and I would recommend you did that 3 times a day for at least 7 to 10 days to rewire the patterning in your brain, especially if it's been like this for a long time. And then you might have to do it like daily for about a week or so, and then maybe every other day, and you start to just pace out the time between doing your homework if you're happy with the progress. Take care. Happy practicing.